Welcome back to another episode of Surprise Mama,
where we talk about the shit they don't tell you.
Well, welcome to the Surprise Mama podcast, where we talk about the shit they don't tell you, who they are. It's like the universal. I always feel like I'm like the universal day.
The universal day.
Everybody.
You know, the unsolicited opinions that you receive.
Love those. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm Ashley.
I'm Molly. And we're here to give you unsolicited opinions as well.
Yes.
But for like the shit that was not covered,
Right.
potentially.
Right.
Or just like, you know, like the space where like no one's really covering these topics.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Anyways, tonight we are going to talk about the pregnant body or body image during pregnancy. Kind of a tricky topic because we're not trying to like body shame anybody.
Not at all.
But mainly our goal with this discussion, and like add anything if I'm like forgetting stuff, is we just want to talk about what the experience of being in a pregnant body is like. And like carrying your child, all the changes that you experience, how foreign it can feel, how uncomfortable it is, but also how awesome it is.
Yes.
So we're trying to keep the positive parts in the picture of like this conversation.
Yeah.
But like I think a lot of this is kind of hard because there's so much commentary on it, and there's so much commentary on your body when you're pregnant. It just draws all this attention.
And it's just out there. It's literally out there. Like people just know you are pregnant.
Yeah, like it's not like they have to ask you at a certain point.
Right.
It's not like they have to ask you like, are you pregnant? They just know. Like strangers look at you. It's like public information all of a sudden. But it's still something that's very intimate to you. But it's your whole body and it's like your whole image. It's just this whole thing. So we just kind of want to chat through it tonight. I don't know. We're going to meander through like different levels of this conversation.
And we're going to talk about our personal experiences with it.
Yes.
And I will say, like some women, I know I have some friends who loved their bodies when they were pregnant. Like love the way they look, love the way they feel. And I am jealous.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I wish I felt that way.
I don't think that I felt that way.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I would say, I mean, I have no idea, but I think there are a lot of women who are on the opposite end who have a harder time with the way they look, harder time with the way they feel when they're pregnant.
And I think that women typically, like if you're on that spectrum where you've had a more difficult time with just like the experience of being pregnant and the body that you had when you're pregnant, I think that can also carry into postpartum. I think that can carry into like well past the fourth trimester, so to speak, because like the weight might not come off, or like there might be like permanent difference and change in your body. Like it doesn't matter where your starting point was. I think that the impact that pregnancy has on your body is something that you also are continuing to experience, but now no one sees it.
Right.
Or like maybe they do, but like but it's different again, and you're now bearing all of that.
Yeah.
And you're trying to transition into this new image, not just like with your body, but as a mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, it kind of sucks, to be honest. And I feel like no one freaking talks about it. So I'm just like, it kind of makes me mad. I'm just like sort of pissed. I don't know.
It's so crazy too, because when you're pregnant, so much of what is happening to your body is not in your control. Like,
totally.
I mean, sure, there are some things, but in general, like, your baby is growing. You do have no control over that. The way, like, where things are growing on your body, you don't have control over that. And so it's just a period of time also where you can feel very out of control of your body.
Right.
Where maybe previously you felt like more in control of your body.
Yeah.
It's just a weird time of just a phase that you're going through, or just an experience that you're going through where you just have very little control of what is happening, because no matter how much you eat or little you eat, no matter how much you work out, you can't not gain weight. Like, you just will gain weight.
You will gain weight.
So it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, like you're already experiencing all these symptoms too.
yeah.
And not only is your body changing, but like you're having like these crazy ass symptoms. Like all of a sudden your hands are going numb, or like you have like cramps, or you can't sleep, or you're like I remember I had issues with my vision, and like,
Oh my God, yeah.
like shit is just like weird. And so you're also dealing with that.
And your hormones. Like we talked about this before, your hormones are just like so out of whack. You get sad about the dumbest stuff.
Oh yeah.
You get upset about like the most minor inconvenience ever. So it's just like any way that you would have felt about the way that you look is just exasperated 1,000 times.
100%.
Like
100%. Couldn't have said it better.
Yep.
Because like your own body image is already hard enough.
Right.
Okay? It's already so difficult. I don't care whether you're thin. I don't care whether you feel like you're overweight. I don't care whether you're in the best freaking shape of your life. You're still having issues because the world sucks. And like how do I
because that's what people always comment on. As women especially.
Yes.
Women oftentimes get like what is commented on is the way that you look. Like your hair looks good, your eyes look good, your shirt looks nice.
It's nice, but like
right, but that's like if that's the only thing that we are constantly hearing, then that's what we focus on.
Being reinforced.
Right.
And then you're pregnant. And even if you enjoy pregnancy, like I didn't have a hard pregnancy. There were some symptoms I had that were painful, like with my lower back,
right,
kind of thing. But like I got through it,
right,
and I was fine. But like moreover, I think that, and I'll get to my experience.
No,
but
right.
like, so I'll wait to tell that actually. But I just think that like I found this to be pretty hard,
right,
emotionally,
yeah,
for myself to navigate.
Yeah.
Because I already have other problems with this whole topic.
Right.
Like my whole life.
Right. Well, that's like,
right? So, yeah.
I was like, there weren't really any facts about this topic, but one thing that
We also were like, we don't really want to get into facts.
I know,
about this topic.
the one thing I was reading was like, if you like already had body image issues before you got pregnant,
Oh yeah.
it's not like they go away. And that was just kind of like if you're already struggling with
No,
these
we're
things
adding a
before-
chapter.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
And so it's like if you are a person that already struggles with body image,
Yep.
just be prepared for that to be a part of your pregnancy journey as well. And just think about how you're going to deal with that while you are pregnant, maybe beforehand, and like prep yourself.
Yes.
And whether that's counseling, talking with friends, just putting in like different, I wish I had done that a little bit better when I was pregnant. Because I have struggled with like body image issues, you know, especially before. Yeah. So it's like,
and I've talked about it.
I think there's definitely ways or things that you can prepare a little bit for even going into it.
Yeah. And I will say I did some of that work and it did help.
Yeah.
Like I had to like, I really tried to, how do I say this? I really tried to intentionally think about this before I got pregnant. And in the early stages of my pregnancy, before I was showing, I tried to be really intentional about like how I thought about my body, the type of language that I was reinforcing to myself about my body, because I knew that once those changes hit and I was starting to gain weight and I would have to be in different clothing,
Right.
and struggle to get dressed for work every day and figure out how to like dress for a corporate job, I was like, I know that I am going to have like emotional breakdowns about this. And I did, but it really did help. Like to think about it beforehand. So yes, I like that plug.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because I forgot that I had done that and it was helpful. But yeah.
And one thing I will say too is like what is happening to your body while you're pregnant is amazing. And Molly said this earlier, but like it is actually so crazy. Like you are growing a baby, you're growing another organ, like the placenta. Like you, like this is
so crazy.
Well, stuff that really helped me was I love just like thinking about facts and thinking about like getting down to the nitty gritty of, your body needs the fat to like store up to
Exactly.
support your baby. You need to like your blood like doubles.
Your
Like,
blood volume,
all
like,
this is
you're
contributing.
out of breath for all these different
Right.
reasons, like, but yes, that's so helpful because when you know the reason
Right.
of your symptoms or you know why your body is
Mhm.
doing these things, it helps
Right.
you reason with
Right.
your emotions about it,
Yes.
which isn't like the end all be all solution, but it helps.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can go a little bit
Yeah.
into my story, but
Yeah, like you should start. Yeah.
yeah, because like I've historically really struggled with body image issues and just like liking the way I look. I mean, that's again, I think that's kind of the story for probably many women.
Yeah.
And so going into pregnancy, I knew it was going to be an issue because like I said earlier, it's exasperated. So even before I got pregnant, I was talking to some of my pregnant friends like, okay, like where does the weight come from? I need to know this. And my one friend was like, I mean, immediately after I gave birth to my daughter, like 10 or 15 pounds of that weight I had put on was gone because of the baby, because the placenta was gone, because of, just the water that you're still, amniotic fluid, some of that blood. It's just like gone. And that was so helpful for me to hear because I was like, okay, because they tell you you should gain between 25 and 35 pounds when you're
Depending on
pregnant.
your BMI, which
Wait.
also I think BMI is bullshit
Too.
frankly, like, that's a
Yeah.
conversation for another day.
Different story.
But, like, based on your BMI, they're like, "Here's how much weight you
Right.
approximately gain. You should just be within this window."
Right.
Wait, and that's kinda helpful,
Right.
but that like, your height can impact that.
I know.
How much muscle mass you have
Right.
can impact that. So that's why I think BMI is
Yeah, I think
something to
BMI.
ask, but
Yes.
anyways, yeah.
But anyways, it is kind of helpful just knowing like, okay, this is kind of where that weight is distributed throughout your whole body.
And why it is.
Yeah, and why, like how important that, and like for me, because I have struggled with just the way I've looked and body image and weight and all this different stuff, it was really helpful for me to know why it was so important. It was like, I have to eat because my baby needs this food to grow. Like,
Did you ever struggle to, like, eat enough? Like, was that hard for you?
it was.
It was for me.
It was mostly because, I just wasn't, like, overly hungry. Like,
I wasn't either.
I feel like in my just every day-to-day life,
Mhm.
I just eat when I'm hungry, and I eat, like, pretty much the same thing.
Well, you're not an emotional eater.
I'm not.
So, like, I'm an emotional eater. So, like, I could eat if I'm stressed.
Yeah.
I don't really eat, like, for sadness or something like that, but like, my disorderly eating in the past has always been more like,
Stress.
I think, to, like, stress. But, like, even in pregnancy, I just think that, like, I was so,
Like,
anxious
yeah.
about, like, the weight gaining, which, I look back on it and I'm like, I honestly could have put on another 5 pounds and it probably would have benefited me and my daughter, like, in the long run.
Yeah.
But I didn't know at the time,
It's hard, and, like, I was really anxious at the beginning, so I didn't, and this is where I think maybe some of this came into play where I would say I was restricting my eating, but I wasn't eating enough.
Like, we just didn't I don't know if it was, like, intentional,
It was
like,
I just
it happens.
Yeah, and I don't think I started gaining weight until like 18 weeks.
Okay.
So it was a little bit,
Right, and yeah.
and I think so when I was pregnant, I didn't want people to I didn't want people to know I was pregnant by them physically looking at me or like by them looking at me.
Yeah.
And I think that was the hardest thing. I didn't want people to know I was pregnant.
Do you know why you didn't want
Because
to know that?
that would have meant that I was bigger than I was before.
Okay.
And so I had a really hard time with wanting to have my stomach show.
Like, did you wear really loose clothing?
Well,
Or
again, I didn't start showing until like 20 weeks.
yeah.
So it was like a weird, I was very happy about it. I was also a little bit nervous about it because I was like, is something wrong? I mean, I wore my clothes up until like just normal clothes up until that time.
Yeah.
And so it was a weird balance in my like head of like, am I doing something wrong? But I also like love that this is happening. It was like, and I felt really I felt really guilty about it.
Well, I think that, like, what you're touching on is similar to what I was gonna say about my experience, but, like, I think whatever disorder you have in your own body image or with food or with weight, whatever it is, that carries into your pregnancy.
100%.
And that's what you're describing.
100%.
And it's like, we're not saying like, oh, we're glad or, ooh, that's good. I'm not like, good job.
Yeah,
no.
no.
I say like, because I look back and I'm like, both of us like had very small children.
Like, yeah.
Like, and so, you know, I'm not saying that this is why. I don't know because I've talked to my doctor about this and I don't actually know. Like, she's just constitutionally small. But like, you know, I think that this is what you're describing.
Well,
is this whatever is pre-existing in your relationship with your own body carries into your pregnancy, and it's really fucking hard. Sorry, I just like
it is because I feel like I missed out on a part of pregnancy.
I did too.
Because I did not allow myself to enjoy the way I looked.
We were too, like, we were holding on so tight to like our previous self.
Right.
And part of pregnancy is like literally shedding who you are. Like, it's not like you're disconnected from who you are, but there is like a layer of you that dies through pregnancy. And like that change is really hard to absorb.
And I think too, it's just
Does that make sense? Like kind of what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I think too, like I said earlier, like when you're pregnant, there's just so many things you can't control.
Right.
And I think not allowing myself to let go of that control like wasn't good. Like this would have been the perfect opportunity in my life with my like historically bad, you know, body image issues to just like let go and be okay with the fact knowing that this was out of my control and I could just allow this to happen and like enjoy it, but I didn't.
Does that make you sad?
It does because I did take like a belly pic every week. I took it in the mirror.
I didn't, and
which was kind of fun.
I regret it.
But I think I have one photo of myself pregnant outside of that. Like I just did not take any photos with people or like you did like a shoot, like a shoot.
Yeah. Like I did like a pregnancy.
Yeah, maternity shoot.
Maternity.
Yeah.
What do they call those? I did a maternity shoot. But literally like outside of that maternity shoot, I think I have like 4 photos of myself when I was pregnant. I didn't take photos of myself and I wasn't in them. Like, and I'm looking back and I'm like, was I consciously like avoiding pictures? I don't actually know.
I think
but
I
I might have been because everyone kept asking me for pics. I had a lot going on. Like I was studying for a license exam, and so I was like, I was actually like genuinely busy.
You were like really busy,
but I also like didn't know how to like awkwardly like,
it's
take a photo of my stomach.
It's weird.
I know. So, anyways,
but at my baby shower, like my family baby shower, they're like, let's take photos, and I said no. I like didn't even do it then.
Oh, Ashton.
I know. And so there was one of me like bending over to pick up a present. That's like really bad. Like it just is not good. Like nobody would like this photo taken of them regardless. So rats. I'm like, it's just like because I'm not having any more. Like if I was having another kid, I think it would be easier for me to embrace it, and it like maybe I would do a maternity shoot.
I think you would.
I just am. I think I do look back and I'm sad that I just didn't. I didn't accept who I was at the time, and I think I was just so fearful that I would never get back to where I was before.
Oh yeah.
That I was resentful of where I was at being pregnant.
Yeah.
I was like, I was already mad at my pregnant self for something that hadn't even happened yet postpartum.
And like, yes, I understand because I felt the same way. And like, I was trying so hard to resist being angry about it.
Right.
Like I wanted to be one of those women that was like, this is beautiful and I love my body. And I had days where I felt free.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you did, but like,
I remember.
But like, like, I don't want to say like my experience was like I was in this like prison of my body, because I don't think that that was the experience on a daily basis. But like, I think that what you just said probably like captures so many people's experience, because I don't care. Like I said earlier, it doesn't matter where your starting point is.
Right.
What you just described as being like resentful of where you are, but also being fearful about like the future of your own body is, I think, what every person who is pregnant, every woman who has been pregnant experiences. And it's just like,
It's because you're watching yourself grow. You're watching yourself looks like you've never seen yourself before.
it's very foreign.
It's very foreign.
And then like when you feel like your baby kick
Yeah.
and all that, like I think that that helped me
Oh, interesting.
incredibly. Like once I could feel her moving, it was almost like we were interacting. And so for me, it really helped. But I know I have several friends, and maybe you're in this camp,
might be in this
where like they were like, I didn't like it. It felt
hated it.
weird.
It felt like an
freaked me
alien.
out. Yes. Okay. So I think that like some people feel differently about us, but I loved it. It was like she was just like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd be like, oh, good. Like,
Or it's
here's
like,
me. Like,
or it's like what I'm going through right now. Oh, I feel what that is. Like it's work. Like I can.
it was a physical reminder.
Yes.
Like, and my daughter was super active. Like she kicked and like was like punching me like all the time. So it was, you know, she was making herself known.
Yeah.
But it helped me. Yeah. And that's interesting that you see, that's interesting though, because you're like not doing it.
And maybe that's because I already resented being pregnant.
Like you had made up your mind that this was not a good thing.
Right. Like I had already decided that. And so anything that was related to it,
Okay.
I just automatic. And I don't know, like I hope that I would feel different if I was having another kid and pregnant again. Like maybe because postpartum recovery, I didn't know what was going to expect, and maybe I have a little bit more.
Pretty easy recovery.
I did, just because of the way my child was born.
Yeah.
And maybe with a second pregnancy, I would actually be like, okay, the first time really wasn't as bad. Hopefully this next time would be. But being pregnant for the first time, you just literally have no idea what it's going to be like for your body.
It's really scary.
And so it's scary looking forward to that with the idea that my body may never go back to what it was before.
Yeah.
And that is a scary thought for me. Yeah. Probably for a lot of women of like
for every woman.
I'm losing my old self.
Or just like the unknown of I don't know what is going to happen to my body.
Right.
And I don't know what's happening to my body right now.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's a lot to try to navigate emotionally. And that's why we're talking about this, because no one fucking talks about this. And it's really like you feel very isolated.
Yes.
And you feel very shamed to like say those things when you're pregnant. And it's so hard. Like your brain is also changing when you're pregnant. Like your brain chemistry is changing. So like to even think through those things is very hard to do.
Right.
And you're trying to get a nursery ready in your house, and like you're very overwhelmed. So like no one's like being like, okay, let me journal about how I feel about my body today. It's like, if you are doing that, please
I know, like
inspire me and let me know that you did it. But like I don't know anybody that did. So.
And I think like I think I would share some with my friends about how I would feel, but also I did feel guilty because I'm like, I should be like excited that I'm growing a baby and I'm gonna be a mom.
But also like you get into this territory too, where like even if like your body or like how you feel about your body, you're like even as a pregnant person, you're still conscientious. Of like how that impacts other people.
Right.
Because like I was not like super huge when I was pregnant, but like people commented on that all the time. And it honestly made me feel like I felt awkward around other women sometimes, because I was like, okay, well now like you're also commenting about other people's bodies in this room as you point out mine.
Right.
Because somebody else might not look the way that I look. And now there's like this thing in the, like, there's like this elephant in the room. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that like with
It just creates this whole thing.
because within pregnancy, like there can be this like level of comparing.
They're 100%
And I don't
comparison. And
I don't
don't
think
know.
it's intentional.
It's not, but like like other women who have been pregnant,
Right.
like spoke about my body in a very specific way versus like people who have never been pregnant. Like there's all this language around the pregnant body.
Yeah.
Whether it's from directed from people who have had a pregnancy, whether it's like someone just being like, you look so great,
Right.
kind of like positive, you force like that experience, whatever. But yeah,
it's just like a different, like I think when you're not pregnant, like I compare myself to a lot of I have compared myself to a lot of different people the way I look, but like when you're pregnant, it's like a different comparison.
Yeah, but like, and then there's people who were previously pregnant that are comparing what their pregnant
Right,
looks like
right.
years, and they're telling you about it, and you're like, and this is so sorry. Like you're like, what do I?
Sometimes you feel guilty. Sometimes you feel guilty. Sometimes you feel jealous. Sometimes you just feel, I don't know. It's just like,
I just remember feeling like I wasn't really sure what to say.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, and yeah, it was just a lot to navigate.
yeah.
And I like, can I kind of start to?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Oh wait. Well, did you have anything else? Like,
I'm sure I'll come up if I.
we're just kind of jiving.
Yeah, we're just like,
But like, I just remember so often, like, first of all, I hated the attention.
oh yes, I hated it too.
I hated it. I know that we're like on a podcast or whatever, like we volunteer for this, but I'm not someone that actually like loves being the center of attention in a room.
Yeah.
Like I don't like all eyes on me necessarily. It's just kind of nerve-wracking.
And then when you're pregnant,
All eyes on the prego, because I don't know why this is like a thing, but like I'm also not someone who ever thought I would have kids.
right?
So I also know that I'm coming from like this,
We both are.
like like this position of like, I'm not someone that generally like goes up to someone and I'm like, you're pregnant, or like, I'm so excited. Like that's just not who I am. I'm not someone that like wants to smother children and be like, oh, I want to smother them in kisses. Like I'm like, I want to smother my own child in kisses. Hi, Billy.
Oh, sorry,
She wants to smother.
we have an intruder.
Shared kisses.
She heard kisses and she said, "Okay, real quick, just a few."
Okay. Yes. Hello. Thank you.
Okay, I'm done, Billy.
But
Go back under the table.
okay, done. There you go. But like I really, really, really didn't like how often people commented on the body. And like the comments that I received were like good. And it's never that I received like a negative comment, so to speak. But like there was just all of this like language about my body and like, oh, you're still so small. Oh, now you're showing. Or like, oh, you're wearing form-fitting things. Or like, oh, you look so good. And I'm like, as opposed to what?
Right.
Like, as opposed to what? Like, I'm sorry. I'm banging the table.
I was gonna say, like, when you're pregnant, people feel like they
It's
are
a
just
free for all.
you're just allowed to it.
It's
You're just allowed
It's a
to.
freaking free for
It's
all.
like I would never come up to Molly and be like, "Oh, you're wearing form-fitting clothes today. That's you're showing." Not that I would be like,
you look so good. Like, no, I'm not walking up to my friends and being like, oh my gosh, it's like so good to see you in those clothes. How are you feeling?
like, maybe my like really good friends, but not strangers or people I don't know.
Small circle.
Right. Like I will tell my friends, I'm like, "You are looking great today."
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, you're looking hot.
But like
That's different.
like a coworker or like it's just somebody you don't know super well.
Everyone, like I would get stopped in the stores. Like I would be out shopping and people would like total strangers would come up to me and be like, oh, you're pregnant. How far along are you? And I'd be like, none of your flipping business.
But I think
I just hated it so much. But I also know I need to switch to a positive note for one second.
real quick, I think this is why I didn't want to show. This is why I didn't
you didn't like the attention.
Right, the attention. I didn't want people to say anything.
No, yeah, I really just was so uncomfortable with it. But on a positive note, I do know people that really enjoy that.
I know, yes.
And I know
which is great.
women, and I'm like, go you.
Yeah.
I know women that love the attention and they're like, hell yeah, bring it on. I love that people are rejoicing and celebrating with me about this pregnancy. And that's awesome. We need you.
This episode is not for those people.
Maybe not necessarily, but that doesn't mean they didn't struggle with it.
That is true. That is true.
That just means that they didn't mind the attention, maybe in that area.
Yeah.
But they may have been oh, I really hate that I don't fit my pants the same way.
Right.
You know,
I think
that is true. There is a seat for everyone in this conversation. At the table, you know what I see?
Yeah.
But I just I really didn't like the attention, whether it was good or bad.
Yeah.
And not that any of it was bad, but I think based on my previous experience, I had an eating disorder 15 years ago. I have struggled with body image. I have come leaps and bounds. I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not where I was.
Right. When we were 16? Are you crazy?
Or in my 20s.
Right.
But was I calorie counting during my pregnancy? No. But I was under extreme stress.
Yeah.
And my appetite was impacted by that. I work full time. I was in a role that was very stressful for me in the time. I was studying for a securities license. I was trying to do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And so my appetite was impacted by that. And then it got to a point later in the pregnancy where I just realized oh my God, I need to be eating.
Yeah.
A lot more. I have the freedom to eat a lot more
Yeah.
than I am eating.
Take advantage of it.
So something kind of shifted, I think, at that point, because something happened where we realized that the growth scans for my daughter had fallen off. Her percentage had dropped significantly. And I don't really want to get into all the details about that because that's a different combo.
Yeah.
But I was just doing anything I could to at that point up my weight.
Yeah.
And to try to just keep her healthy for as long as I could.
Yeah.
To get full term.
Yeah.
But I think that the purpose of that really helped me at a certain point, because at that point I was just give me protein, give me food, give
I
me
need
carbs,
yes.
And I think that there were different points throughout my pregnancy where I sobbed in front of the mirror because I was I can't find clothes to wear to work. I had never felt so challenged to put together an outfit for work. And the other challenging part was your wardrobe shrinks.
Oh my gosh.
Because you get to the point where you don't really fit and stuff. So you're either thrifting, you're trying to buy
it's just expensive
maternity clothes, or you're really wearing the same things over and over again because that's what works.
Yeah.
And you kind of get to a point where you're okay, I just I have to not care if my coworkers saw me in this top 2 days ago. I washed it.
Yeah.
But I wore it 2 days ago, and I hope that no one's paying attention to me as much as I am, because which they probably aren't. But maybe they were though, because I was pregnant. Your body, you look so good. You're so small, and I'm So I just I just think that there were points where I really had a hard time, and I really despised the way that my body fit in clothing.
Yeah.
I think that the constant contact of clothing and having
it is
for a job, and to be in such a public place every day was really hard.
Yeah.
I was already predisposed to just the issues of body image anyhow, but I think that what was really hard for me is that there were things about my pregnancy that I wanted to feel excited about. and that like the decision to have a child was so intimate of me and my husband. It was a very long road. And when people just like blatantly commented on my body or just like where I was, the reason that was hard for me is because I was like, I'm still catching up to you.
Right.
And I'm still working on getting there, and I'm still working on that level of excitement.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like I could tell people. Do you know, like, because I was like, I'll never you. Like, and like even people who knew me, like sometimes I felt like I couldn't tell them that.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. Like I felt like people were more excited for my pregnancy than I was. And so it was really difficult when people would comment or say something. What that made me more insecure because I was like, now I look fat. Thank you for saying that. Even though they were just being nice.
But yes, but
And also like I didn't know if I wanted to have kids. I wasn't planning on having them, and they changed their minds. And so it was like I felt like I was still catching up with that plan, even though I was pregnant, like you just said.
Well, you take the leap of faith,
Right?
You know, there's a certain point where like you're either going to be pregnant or you're not,
Right?
and like you choose to have a kid or you don't, right? Like there's no between. And so even though we chose to do this, there was still like a level of like you jump off the ledge,
Right?
You know, and like you're still kind of figuring it out on the way down. And there's a lot of people that are like rallying and excited because I think people were very excited for us because they just never really thought it was gonna happen.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you
So there
guys
was like
chose to have a kid, okay.
But it was very hard in my person, my body, to have to like absorb that. And like I almost felt like I was acting.
Yes. Oh,
Through a lot of social situations, not like even like the physical appearance aside, but like just emotionally.
yeah.
Where I was just like, okay, like this is a very like intimate thing. Like I'm trying to get to know this baby, and like I am dealing with a lot of shit in my life, just generally like with work and stuff.
Yeah.
But then like I was also trying to prepare everything, and I just remember just feeling like very overwhelmed all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you get to a point where you're like waddling. Like I was waddling because my thighs, like you just get big enough to the point where like my belly was like big, or it felt big.
I'm like a man.
And you're just like, even the way you walk is different. And so you're trying to like present yourself like a normal person.
And you're just like, what's up?
Like waddling back. You're trying to like keep up with other people emotionally. And so I think that like the thing that I'm just like on my passion point about, like in my, I don't know. I think that like the fact that there is a lack of proper vocabulary for women who are pregnant to be like, this is how I feel about my body right now. Or this is how awkward I feel, or this is how ashamed I feel, or this is how like guilty I feel is really unfortunate.
I know.
And that's because there's not enough conversations like the one we're having.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is not negative.
No.
And like there might be people who are listening who are like, damn, they were negative tonight, and Molly finally opened up her swearing faucet. Sorry. I turned it on, but yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Like, I feel like it's honest. Like, this is how I truly felt.
Yes.
And so I cannot be the only one, right? Like,
No.
I'm not the only one that felt this way. I don't think you did. Like, I know other people who did as well.
Yeah.
But it is difficult to talk about, especially in the moment and when it's happening because of that, because of vocabulary just being limited, or like the guilt that maybe you feel behind it, or just like there's so many other things going on that like, how is this playing into that, and like where does it factor in?
And I don't have the answer to like, okay, what's the alternative?
I know.
Like, I don't know. I was like trying to think through this, and I'm sitting here trying to think through like, okay, well, what's the alternative for people to do if they want to express excitement about your pregnancy?
Like, for how do other people express excitement about your pregnancy?
Correct, because there's got to be ways where that's, like, not just socially acceptable, but, like, mindful. Because I think the intention that people have is good.
Right.
But sometimes the impact is maybe not as good because you just don't know where that
Right.
person is mentally,
Right.
you know?
I have to think about that.
I don't know. So, like, I don't know what the answer is to
No.
that. But anyways.
I do have some tips on just how to maybe help yourself in the moment or, like,
Okay.
during the time. Okay, so
Great.
a few tips I have that I found on the internet, but also just thinking through of how to, like, help yourself kind of through this. Like, one, like I mentioned earlier, like, if you already know that you have a history of just body image issues, like, preparing yourself mentally just for that, going into it, whatever way that you already do. Like, take those, tools and keep working on that. 2, one thing that was kind of helpful for me is that, like, I got maternity clothes that I really liked.
Me too.
Like, I got, like, 3 pairs of maternity leggings that, like, were super comfortable. I really liked them.
Lived in them.
And it was just, like, it made it easier because I didn't have to think about what I was going to wear.
Okay,
It was just kind of like, I would grab them and put them on. Or, like, I had some shirts or, like, just sweaters that I already had, like, that I would just wear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think just being in a support group or something, or surrounding yourself by friends who you can talk to specifically about all these things that you're going through.
Like, I know that there are a couple, like, 2 women who have reached out to me after my pregnancy who had similar issues. And, like, we've talked about them. And I'm like, no, it's normal. Like, you're okay.
Yeah.
But, like, you can get really anxious and it's hard. So I agree. I think just, like, trying to be honest with other people.
Yeah.
But I think just, like, okay, yeah, there's a lack of vocabulary for this, but just being like, I don't feel great, that I don't feel great about this. But just, if I could go back, I think that I would talk about it a lot more.
Oh, and talking to your partner. I think that's also really important. And being open and honest with them just about how you're feeling.
Yes.
So, like, they're the closest person that you probably have, like, who's going through this journey with you.
100%.
So
100%.
yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And, like, we haven't even talked about sex or anything.
Oh God, that's a whole other topic.
Another topic with the pregnant body.
Right.
But anyhow, thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you for listening.
This is, like, one of the conversations I think I've enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
That we've had.
Really?
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah. Me too.
So yeah, if you have any thoughts or questions or just whatever about this episode or any of them really, you can email us at surprisemommapod@gmail.com. Or also on Instagram and TikTok at surprisemomma. And then you can listen at, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or just kind of anywhere. But yeah, please reach out if you have any questions or comments, or we would just love to hear your thoughts on just this topic.
Yeah. And we're here to support you.
Yeah,
If you
always.
want support. So yeah. All right. See you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.